Elon Musk saves Donald Trump from plane crash. The sky was an endless canvas of deep blue, unmarred by clouds, as the private jet cut through the air at 40,000 feet. Donald Trump sat in the cabin, flipping through a file of documents. The hum of the engines filled the space as he leaned back in his plush leather seat, sipping a Diet Coke and preparing for a speaking engagement in Florida. His security detail sat nearby, their faces stoic and professional as they monitored the situation. For Trump, this was just another day, another flight, another speech. The rhythm of his life had become a series of scheduled appearances, meetings, and media headlines. But what he didn't know was that today would be anything but ordinary. "Sir," one of the flight attendants said, leaning down to address him. "We'll be landing in about an hour. Everything's on schedule." "Perfect," Trump replied, not even glancing up from his documents. But then, a faint but noticeable sound interrupted the steady hum of the engines. A metallic screech echoed through the cabin, followed by a sudden jolt that made the plane shudder. Trump looked up, his expression a mix of annoyance and concern. "What's that?" he asked, his voice sharp. Before anyone could respond, the plane jolted again, harder this time. The cabin lights flickered, and the pilots' voices crackled over the intercom. "This is your captain speaking," the pilot said, his voice tight with tension. "We're experiencing some technical difficulties. Please remain seated and fasten your seatbelts." Trump's security team immediately sprang into action, strapping themselves in and positioning themselves near him. The tension in the cabin was palpable as the plane began to shake, the screeching sound growing louder. At that moment, 30,000 feet below, Elon Musk stood in the open hangar of SpaceX's testing facility in Texas. Dressed in his usual casual attire, a black t-shirt and jeans, he was overseeing the final checks on the latest Starship prototype. His team bustled around him, their movements precise and efficient. "Elon," one of his engineers called out, holding a tablet. "We're ready to run the simulation." Musk nodded, his mind focused on the task at hand. Space exploration was his passion, his obsession, and he was determined to make humanity a multiplanetary species. But even as he worked on pushing the boundaries of science and technology, he remained attuned to the world around him. A sudden alert on his phone broke his concentration. It was an emergency notification from the FAA detailing a private jet in distress over Texas airspace. Musk frowned, his sharp mind immediately processing the implications. The coordinates were close, too close. "Pull up the air traffic radar," Musk instructed one of his team members. Within seconds, a large monitor displayed the radar, showing the jet's trajectory. It was descending rapidly, its path erratic. "They're going down," Musk muttered, his eyes narrowing. Without hesitation, he turned to his team. "Get me the coordinates of their likely impact zone. We're going to help." His team exchanged glances, their expressions a mix of confusion and determination. This wasn't the kind of emergency they were accustomed to handling, but they trusted Musk's instincts. Back on the jet, the situation had deteriorated rapidly. The cabin was filled with the sound of alarms and the panicked voices of passengers. Trump gripped the armrests of his seat, his face pale as the plane lurched violently. "Sir, we need to prepare for an emergency landing," one of his security team members said. "Emergency landing? Where?" Trump demanded, his voice rising in pitch. The security agent hesitated, glancing at the window. "Anywhere we can." As the ground loomed closer, the pilots fought desperately to stabilize the aircraft. The engines sputtered, and smoke began to fill the cabin, adding to the chaos. The realization hit everyone simultaneously: this was not going to be a smooth landing. "Brace for impact," the pilot shouted over the intercom. The jet hurtled toward an open field, skimming dangerously close to the treetops. With a deafening crash, it slammed into the ground, skidding across the earth before coming to a shuddering halt. The cabin was plunged into darkness, the only sounds the groans of metal and the gasps of passengers trying to regain their bearings. Trump blinked, disoriented, as his security team worked quickly to unbuckle him and assess the situation. "Is everyone okay?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "Yes, sir," one of the agents replied. "But we need to get out of here now." Meanwhile, Musk's team had pinpointed the jet's crash site. Without wasting a moment, Musk climbed into a specially outfitted Tesla Cybertruck, loaded with emergency supplies and a communications array. He wasn't one to sit idly by when action was needed. "Let's go," he said, his voice calm but urgent. The truck sped across the rugged terrain, the electric engine humming as it navigated toward the crash site. Musk's mind raced as he considered the possibilities. The jet's passengers were likely injured, and time was of the essence. He wasn't sure what he would find when he arrived, but he was prepared for anything. As the crash site came into view, Musk's breath caught. The jet was a mangled heap of metal, smoke rising from its engines. Flames flickered at the edges, casting an eerie glow over the wreckage. But what caught his attention most was the figure standing near the wreckage, unmistakable even from a distance. Donald Trump. Trump's security team had managed to get him out of the wreckage and away from the flames, but the situation was dire. Several passengers were injured, and the threat of an explosion loomed. Trump stood amid the chaos, his usually composed demeanor replaced by one of grim determination. "Sir, we have to move further away," one of his agents urged. "Not without everyone else," Trump replied, gesturing to the injured passengers. "We're not leaving anyone behind." It was in that moment of chaos that the Cybertruck roared into view, its headlights cutting through the smoke. Musk stepped out, his presence commanding as he surveyed the scene. "Is everyone all right?" he called out, his voice carrying over the noise. Trump turned, his eyes narrowing as he recognized Musk. "Elon," he said, his tone a mix of surprise and disbelief. "What the hell are you doing here?" "Saving your life, apparently," Musk replied with a wry smile. He motioned to his team, who began unloading supplies and assessing the injured. "Let's get everyone to safety." The two men worked together, their differences forgotten in the face of the crisis. Musk's team used their advanced equipment to stabilize the injured passengers, while Trump's security detail ensured the area remained secure. It was a coordinated effort, fueled by necessity and a shared determination to prevent further tragedy. As the hours passed, the flames were extinguished and emergency responders arrived on the scene. Musk and Trump stood side by side, watching as the injured were loaded into ambulances and the wreckage was secured. "I have to admit," Trump said, breaking the silence, "I didn't expect to see you here. But I'm glad you showed up." Musk glanced at him, his expression thoughtful. "Sometimes, you just have to do what's right," he said simply. As the chaos began to settle, emergency responders took over the scene. Medical teams tended to the injured passengers, while fire crews worked tirelessly to ensure the wreckage posed no further danger. The once tense atmosphere gradually gave way to a strange calm. Donald Trump stood beside Elon Musk, watching as the rescue operation unfolded. His suit was wrinkled and smudged with soot, and his tie hung loosely around his neck. Yet, for the first time in years, he looked truly humbled. "You saved lives today, Elon," Trump said, breaking the silence. His tone was uncharacteristically sincere. Musk, his arms crossed as he leaned against the Cybertruck, gave a slight shrug. "I just did what anyone would have done," he replied. "No one should have to go through something like that alone." Trump nodded, his gaze fixed on the smoldering wreckage. "Still, I owe you. If you hadn't shown up when you did," he trailed off, shaking his head. "Let's just say things could have ended very differently." The two men were soon ushered toward a temporary command center set up by the responders. Inside a large tent, a flurry of activity surrounded them. Maps, radios, and computers buzzed as officials coordinated the next steps. A member of Trump's security detail handed him a bottle of water, which he accepted with a grateful nod. "Mr. Trump, we've arranged transportation to the nearest hospital," one of the agents said. "You should get checked out?" Trump waved him off. "I'm fine," he insisted. "But make sure everyone else is taken care of first." Musk observed this exchange with a raised eyebrow. "Didn't peg you as the type to stick around in a situation like this," he said. Trump smirked, though his usual bravado was tempered. "When you've been through as many crises as I have, you learn to face them head-on." Musk chuckled. "Fair enough." As the minutes ticked by, the surreal nature of the situation began to sink in. The former president of the United States and one of the world's most famous entrepreneurs had just teamed up in a life-or-death scenario. It was the kind of story that would dominate headlines for weeks, and both men knew it. Once the immediate crisis was under control, Musk prepared to head back to the SpaceX facility. But before he could leave, Trump approached him, his expression thoughtful. "Elon," he began, "this might sound strange, but I'd like to talk to you about something. When all this is behind us, of course." Musk tilted his head, intrigued. "What's on your mind?" Trump hesitated, as if choosing his words carefully. "Today reminded me of how fragile life is, and how much we rely on people like you, innovators, thinkers, doers, to keep us moving forward. I have some ideas, things I've been thinking about for a while now. I'd like to get your perspective." Musk studied him for a moment, then nodded. "All right," he said. "Let's talk. But only if you're serious about doing something meaningful." Trump extended his hand, and Musk shook it firmly. "I'm always serious," Trump said, a hint of his trademark confidence returning. A few weeks later, the two men met again, this time under far less dramatic circumstances. They convened in a sleek conference room at SpaceX headquarters, overlooking the sprawling facility where engineers worked on the latest advancements in space exploration. Trump arrived with a small entourage, but it was clear he was here to listen rather than dominate the conversation. Musk, ever the pragmatist, wasted no time diving into the topics at hand. "What's the big idea, Donald?" Musk asked, leaning back in his chair. Trump folded his hands on the table, his expression unusually earnest. "I've been thinking a lot about infrastructure," he said. "Not just roads and bridges, but the kind of infrastructure that prepares us for the future. Renewable energy, space exploration, advanced transportation systems. We've fallen behind in a lot of ways, and it's people like you who are leading the charge." Musk nodded, his interest piqued. "Go on." "I want to invest in that future," Trump continued. "And I think there's an opportunity to bring people together, business leaders, innovators, government officials, to make it happen. You've already proven what's possible with SpaceX and Tesla. Imagine what we could do on a larger scale." For a moment, Musk said nothing, his mind racing through the possibilities. While he was no stranger to grand ideas, the thought of collaborating with Trump was unexpected. Yet he couldn't deny the potential impact of combining their resources and influence. "It's ambitious," Musk finally said. "But ambition isn't enough. If we're going to do this, it has to be about more than just optics. It has to create real, lasting change." Trump nodded. "Agreed. So where do we start?" Over the next several months, Musk and Trump worked together to lay the groundwork for an initiative they called Project Ascend. The goal was to address critical challenges facing the country, from energy independence to cutting-edge transportation and even the long-term dream of establishing a human presence on Mars. Their collaboration drew widespread attention, sparking both praise and skepticism. Critics questioned whether the unlikely partnership could overcome their stark differences, while supporters lauded their willingness to work toward a common goal. For Musk, the partnership was a means to an end, a way to accelerate progress on projects he believed in. For Trump, it was an opportunity to reshape his legacy and prove that his influence could still drive meaningful change. One of their first joint ventures was the development of a nationwide Hyperloop network designed to revolutionize transportation by connecting major cities with high-speed, sustainable transit. Musk's team handled the technical aspects, while Trump used his connections to rally support and secure funding. The project faced numerous hurdles, regulatory red tape, public skepticism, and logistical challenges, but Musk and Trump pressed on, their determination unwavering. At a groundbreaking ceremony for the first Hyperloop station, the two men stood side by side, addressing a crowd of supporters, officials, and reporters. "This isn't just about transportation," Musk said. "It's about redefining what's possible. It's about creating a future where innovation and sustainability go hand in hand." Trump followed, his voice ringing with conviction. "When we come together, when we put aside our differences and focus on what matters, we can accomplish incredible things. This is just the beginning." As Project Ascend gained momentum, so did the bond between Musk and Trump. Though they often clashed on matters of style and strategy, they found common ground in their shared belief in bold action and big ideas. For Trump, the experience was a humbling reminder of the power of collaboration. For Musk, it was a testament to the impact of uniting diverse perspectives to tackle the world's biggest challenges. And while the plane crash that had brought them together was a distant memory, it remained a powerful symbol of how even the most unlikely alliances could spark extraordinary change. As Project Ascend unfolded, the collaboration between Elon Musk and Donald Trump grew increasingly intricate. The Hyperloop initiative had sparked widespread interest, and its early successes inspired additional projects aimed at tackling some of the nation's most pressing challenges. One of the most ambitious undertakings was the development of a nationwide renewable energy grid. Musk, already a leader in the field with Tesla's solar technology and battery systems, envisioned a grid that would harness the power of solar, wind, and other renewable sources to provide affordable, sustainable energy to every corner of the country. Trump, for his part, used his influence to rally political support for the initiative. Though his reputation as a skeptic of climate change initially raised eyebrows, he framed the project as an investment in energy independence and economic growth. "This isn't just about saving the planet," he told reporters at a press conference. "It's about creating jobs, reducing costs for American families, and making sure we're not reliant on foreign energy." The project, dubbed America Powered, brought together engineers, policymakers, and community leaders in an unprecedented effort to modernize the country's energy infrastructure. Musk and Trump toured manufacturing plants, attended town halls, and appeared on television together to promote the initiative. Behind the scenes, the partnership wasn't always smooth. Musk's data-driven, forward-thinking approach often clashed with Trump's more instinctual, headline-driven style. Their meetings were filled with lively debates, with each man pushing the other to defend their ideas. "Look, Elon," Trump said during one particularly heated discussion, "you might be the smartest guy in the room, but sometimes you've got to sell the vision to people who don't see the big picture like you do. And sometimes," Musk countered, "you need to trust that the data will speak for itself." Despite their differences, both men recognized the value of their collaboration. Musk's technical expertise and Trump's ability to command attention created a dynamic that drove the projects forward, even in the face of skepticism and resistance. As America Powered began to take shape, the first major milestone was the construction of a massive solar farm in Nevada. Spanning thousands of acres, the facility was designed to provide clean energy to millions of homes and businesses in the region. The groundbreaking ceremony was a media spectacle, attended by politicians, activists, and celebrities. Musk and Trump stood side by side as they addressed the crowd, their partnership now a symbol of what could be achieved through collaboration. "This is just the beginning," Musk said, his voice calm but resolute. "If we can power Nevada, we can power the entire country. Renewable energy isn't a pipe dream, it's a necessity." Trump followed, his tone confident and commanding. "America is back, and we're leading the world in innovation and energy. Together, we're building a brighter, cleaner future for generations to come." The audience erupted into applause, the energy palpable. For a moment, the spotlight wasn't on their individual personalities or past controversies, it was on the vision they shared. Meanwhile, Project Ascend also turned its attention to education and workforce development. Musk and Trump recognized that the success of their initiatives depended not just on technology but on people. They launched a program to provide STEM education and job training to students and workers across the country, ensuring that communities had the skills needed to participate in the industries of the future. The program, called Ascend Futures, partnered with schools, universities, and vocational training centers to offer scholarships, apprenticeships, and mentorship opportunities. Musk personally visited classrooms to inspire students, sharing his journey from a curious child in South Africa to a visionary entrepreneur. Trump, too, played a role, using his platform to highlight success stories and encourage businesses to invest in workforce development. "We're creating opportunities for everyone," he said during a speech at a high school in Ohio. "Because when America wins, we all win." Despite the progress, not everyone was convinced. Critics continued to question the motives behind the partnership, accusing both men of using Project Ascend as a way to boost their own profiles. Skeptics also raised concerns about the feasibility of the projects, pointing to logistical challenges and budgetary constraints. Musk and Trump addressed the criticism head-on, holding a series of town hall meetings to engage directly with the public. The events were spirited, with tough questions and passionate debates, but they also provided an opportunity to build trust and rally support. At one town hall in Pennsylvania, a young woman stood up to ask a question. "How do we know this isn't just another empty promise?" she asked, her voice tinged with skepticism. "We've heard politicians talk about big plans before, but nothing ever changes." Trump leaned forward, his expression serious. "I get it," he said. "People are tired of talk. But this isn't just talk. Look at what we've already done. The Hyperloop, the solar farm, the job training programs. We're delivering results, and we're not stopping." Musk added, "Change takes time, but it's happening. And it's not just about what we're doing, it's about what you can do. Get involved, hold us accountable, and be part of the solution." The audience applauded, their skepticism giving way to a sense of cautious optimism. As the years went on, Project Ascend became a defining chapter in both Musk and Trump's legacies. The Hyperloop network expanded, connecting cities from coast to coast and transforming the way people traveled. Solar farms and wind turbines dotted the landscape, providing clean energy to millions of homes. And the education and workforce programs gave countless individuals the tools to build better lives. For Musk, the partnership was a testament to the power of bold ideas and relentless determination. For Trump, it was a reminder that even the most unlikely alliances could achieve extraordinary results. The two men remained polarizing figures, but their work together inspired a new generation of leaders to think big and work together to tackle the challenges of the future. One evening, years after their initial meeting, Musk and Trump found themselves sitting on the steps of a newly completed Hyperloop station in Los Angeles. The city buzzed around them, the hum of activity a testament to the progress they had made. "Not bad for two guys who used to be on opposite ends of the spectrum," Trump said, a hint of a smile playing on his lips. Musk chuckled. "We've come a long way," he said. "But there's still so much to do." Trump nodded, his expression thoughtful. "Then let's keep going." And with that, the two men turned their attention back to the future, ready to tackle whatever challenges lay ahead. As Project Ascend entered its second decade, its impact was undeniable. The Hyperloop network had transformed transportation, renewable energy initiatives had reduced emissions nationwide, and Ascend Futures had prepared millions of Americans for jobs in emerging industries. Yet, despite these successes, the partnership between Elon Musk and Donald Trump continued to attract both praise and controversy. For Musk, the project was a personal triumph. He had always envisioned a future where technology worked hand in hand with society to solve humanity's greatest challenges. Project Ascend had allowed him to pursue these ambitions on a national scale, but it hadn't been without its sacrifices. The immense scope of the initiative often pulled him away from his work at Tesla and SpaceX, forcing him to delegate more than he was used to. For Trump, Project Ascend represented a second act, a chance to redefine his legacy as a builder of the future rather than a relic of the past. Yet he remained acutely aware of the political challenges. His every move was scrutinized, and his critics accused him of using the project as a vanity campaign. Trump brushed off the attacks publicly, but in private, the pressure weighed on him. One day, Musk received an unexpected call from Trump. The former president's voice was uncharacteristically subdued as he explained the reason for his call. "Elon," Trump began, "I've been thinking a lot about the future, my future. There's a lot I still want to do, but I'm not sure I can keep up with the pace of this project." Musk leaned back in his chair, his brow furrowing. "Are you saying you want to step back?" he asked. "Not entirely," Trump replied. "But I think it's time for me to take on more of a guiding role. Let others handle the day-to-day operations. People like you." Musk considered this. He had always respected Trump's ability to rally support and push through resistance, even if their methods often differed. "If that's what you want, we'll make it work," he said. "But you know this project needs you, Donald. People see you as the face of it." Trump chuckled, though there was little humor in it. They see you as the brains, he said. And between the two of us, I think you're better equipped to carry the torch. The transition was announced during a press conference at one of Project Ascend's solar farms in Arizona. Standing side by side, Musk and Trump addressed the crowd with their usual mix of candor and optimism. Today marks a new chapter for Project Ascend, Trump began, his voice steady. Over the past decade, we've accomplished more than I ever thought possible. And while I'll always be involved in this initiative, I'm stepping back from the day-to-day operations to focus on other ways I can contribute to our country. Musk followed, his tone measured and thoughtful. Donald's leadership has been instrumental in making this project a reality, he said. And while his role is changing, his vision and passion will continue to guide us. Project Ascend isn't about any one person, it's about what we can achieve together. The announcement sparked a wave of media coverage, with pundits speculating about the reasons behind Trump's decision and what it meant for the future of the initiative. But for those involved in Project Ascend, the focus remained on the work at hand. With Trump taking a step back, Musk found himself assuming a more prominent leadership role. It was a position he hadn't sought but embraced nonetheless, channeling his energy into expanding the initiative's reach. Under his guidance, Project Ascend launched a series of groundbreaking programs, including urban renewal projects, revitalizing underdeveloped neighborhoods with sustainable housing, green spaces, and public transportation, clean water initiatives, using advanced filtration and desalination technology to provide clean drinking water to communities in need, space innovation grants, supporting research and development for technologies that could one day enable human settlement on Mars. These initiatives garnered widespread support, cementing Project Ascend's reputation as a force for good. But they also came with new challenges, budget overruns, political opposition, and the ever-present scrutiny of the media. One of the most significant challenges arose when Project Ascend faced accusations of mismanagement. An investigative report alleged that funds intended for community programs had been misallocated, sparking outrage and calls for greater transparency. Musk, known for his hands-on approach, immediately took action. He ordered a full audit of the initiative's finances and personally oversaw the implementation of stricter oversight measures. At a press conference, he addressed the issue head-on. "We hold ourselves to the highest standards," he said, his voice firm. "And when we fall short, we take responsibility and fix it." Transparency and accountability are non-negotiable for Project Ascend. The measures restored public confidence, but the incident served as a reminder of the challenges that came with leading such a vast and complex initiative. Meanwhile, Trump found new ways to contribute to the project. No longer burdened by the demands of daily operations, he focused on using his platform to advocate for Project Ascend's goals. He appeared at rallies, spoke at conferences, and met with world leaders to promote the initiative's vision. One of Trump's most significant contributions came during a summit on renewable energy in Paris. Addressing an audience of global leaders, he delivered a speech that surprised even his critics. "For too long, we've treated the future as someone else's problem," Trump said. "But the future is here, and it's up to us to shape it." Project Ascend is proof that when we combine innovation, determination, and a willingness to work together, we can achieve the impossible. The speech was met with a standing ovation, and even Musk, watching from his seat in the audience, couldn't help but applaud. As the years went by, the legacy of Project Ascend grew. The Hyperloop network expanded to connect rural communities, giving millions of Americans access to opportunities they had previously only dreamed of. Renewable energy initiatives drastically reduced the country's carbon footprint, positioning the United States as a global leader in sustainability. And programs like Ascend Futures inspired similar efforts around the world, proving that systemic change was possible. For Musk, the journey was a testament to the power of collaboration. Despite their differences, he and Trump had built something that transcended politics, egos, and personal agendas. And for Trump, it was a chance to prove that his influence could be a force for good, a reminder that even the most unlikely alliances could create lasting change. One evening, long after the day's meetings had ended, Musk sat alone in his office, reflecting on the path that had brought him here. His thoughts were interrupted by a call from Trump. Elon, Trump said, his voice as sharp as ever, "I've been thinking about what's next." Musk smiled. "You're not done yet, are you?" "Not a chance," Trump replied. "We've accomplished a lot, but there's still so much more to do. Let's keep pushing the boundaries. Let's make history." Musk leaned back in his chair, a sense of anticipation stirring within him. "Then let's get to work." And with that, the two men embarked on the next chapter of their journey, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, united by their shared belief in the power of possibility. As the years passed, Project Ascend continued to evolve, its impact far-reaching, its projects growing more ambitious with each passing year. Musk and Trump, though still the public faces of the initiative, were no longer the only driving forces. A new generation of leaders had emerged, both within their teams and in the communities they served. What started as an unlikely partnership had become a movement, a testament to the power of persistence, vision, and collaboration. One of the most ambitious projects that emerged from Project Ascend was the creation of Ascend Cities, a series of fully sustainable, technologically advanced communities designed to be self-sufficient and environmentally friendly. These cities would serve as models for the future, blending cutting-edge technology with eco-friendly practices to create living spaces that didn't just survive, but thrived in harmony with nature. Musk's vision for the cities was clear. They would be powered by renewable energy, built using sustainable materials, and equipped with smart technology to manage everything from waste disposal to energy usage. The goal wasn't just to create housing, but to create communities that could sustain themselves indefinitely. The first Ascend City was built in Nevada, on the outskirts of the sprawling desert. The city was designed to house a mix of families, retirees, and young professionals, all living in homes powered entirely by solar energy and geothermal systems. The roads were lined with trees, and green spaces were integrated into every neighborhood, promoting a healthier, more balanced way of living. The initial response was mixed. Skeptics questioned the feasibility of such a radical concept, wondering if it could ever be replicated on a larger scale. But Musk was undeterred. He knew that the success of Ascend City would be a game-changer, not just for the project, but for the entire planet. In a press conference marking the completion of the first Ascend City, Musk stood alongside Trump, both men now older but still driven by their shared mission. The city behind them was a living testament to the possibilities of the future. "We've shown that a sustainable, self-sufficient city isn't just a dream," Musk said, his tone filled with pride. "It's a reality. And this is just the beginning." Trump, ever the showman, beamed as he spoke to the crowd. "This is what happens when we think big," he said. "When we bring together the best minds in the world and get things done. This city is a model for the future, and it's going to change everything." The crowd erupted in applause, and for a moment, the two men shared a brief look, acknowledging the significance of the moment. In the years that followed, Ascend Cities expanded rapidly. A second city was built in Texas, followed by others in California, New York, and beyond. Each new city was built with the lessons learned from the previous ones, making them more efficient and more sustainable. By the time the first Ascend City celebrated its 10th anniversary, the initiative had transformed from a single project to a global movement. The impact was undeniable. Communities that had once struggled with poverty, housing instability, and unemployment now had access to affordable, sustainable housing, jobs in emerging industries, and educational opportunities. And as the initiative continued to grow, it attracted the attention of governments, corporations, and environmentalists around the world. Musk's influence in the tech world expanded as well. Tesla's electric cars became a global standard, and SpaceX made significant strides in its mission to colonize Mars. But as he reached for the stars, Musk remained committed to the work of Project Ascend, knowing that the future of humanity depended on more than just technological advancement. It depended on creating a world where everyone had the chance to thrive. Trump, too, remained a force in the initiative, though his role had shifted. No longer directly involved in the day-to-day operations, he served as an advisor and advocate, using his influence to rally support for the initiative's goals. He continued to make headlines, not just for his political career, but for his involvement in Project Ascend, and his reputation as a business mogul was rejuvenated by the initiative's success. Yet, despite the accolades and recognition, there was always the nagging question of what came next. For Trump, the work of Project Ascend was a chance to leave a lasting legacy, but what would that legacy be? Was it enough to build cities, launch renewable energy projects, and provide jobs? Or did he need something more to truly cement his place in history? He often asked himself this question, particularly as he grew older. The weight of his presidency, the controversies, and the years spent fighting against the political establishment had taken their toll. Yet Project Ascend had given him a renewed sense of purpose, a sense of accomplishment he hadn't felt in years. One evening, as Trump sat alone in his office, reviewing reports on Project Ascend's progress, he received a call from Musk. The line crackled slightly, but Musk's voice was clear. "Donald, how's everything going?" Musk asked, his tone casual. "Good, good," Trump replied, leaning back in his chair. "Just keeping busy, you know. But I've been thinking a lot about the future. About what comes next." Musk paused, sensing the weight behind Trump's words. "What do you mean?" "I'm not getting any younger," Trump said with a sigh. "And there's only so much time left to make a difference. I've spent my life building things, but I'm wondering, what else can I do? What's the next step?" Musk was quiet for a moment before responding. "It's a big question, Donald. But I think you've already made your mark. You've done something no one thought possible. But if you're looking for the next step, maybe it's time to let the next generation take the reins. You've set the stage for them." Trump was silent for a moment, contemplating Musk's words. "You think so?" he asked, a trace of uncertainty in his voice. "I do," Musk said firmly. "And I think Project Ascend is just the beginning. The future's in good hands." Trump smiled, a rare moment of clarity settling over him. "Maybe you're right. Maybe it's time for me to step back and let others take the lead. But I'll still be here, supporting the cause." Musk chuckled. "I wouldn't expect anything less." And so, as the years rolled on, the partnership between Musk and Trump evolved into something greater than either man could have imagined. Together, they had reshaped the future of their country and the world, but the real work, the kind that would outlast them both, was just beginning. With Project Ascend flourishing, Musk focused on reaching even greater heights in space exploration, while Trump became a vocal advocate for the next generation of innovators, pushing for more investments in education, technology, and infrastructure. Their legacies, intertwined yet distinct, would continue to inspire future leaders for decades to come. And as they looked back on everything they had built, both men knew that their work was far from over. It was merely the beginning of something much, much larger. As the years passed, the global impact of Project Ascend continued to grow. New cities were springing up around the world, all powered by renewable energy and built with the goal of sustainability in mind. Governments, corporations, and environmental organizations had all taken note of the groundbreaking work being done by Musk and Trump, and the initiative had become a shining example of what was possible when innovation, leadership, and collaboration came together. But there were still challenges. There were always challenges. The world was changing at a faster pace than ever before, and new obstacles seemed to appear daily: political turbulence, environmental crises, and unforeseen technological setbacks. Still, Musk and Trump continued their work, each in their own way. For Musk, the challenges were often of a technical nature: figuring out how to take the next giant leap in space exploration, how to scale up the renewable energy infrastructure even further, how to make the world more sustainable. But he had become more than just a visionary. He was now a leader of one of the most transformative movements in history. And with that leadership came responsibility. For Trump, the challenges were political and societal. The nation had changed since he'd left office, and while Project Ascend had succeeded in many ways, he knew that true change required more than just technological innovation. It required a fundamental shift in how people thought about the future. His role had evolved, and he had become something of a mentor to the new generation of leaders, advocating for the very things that had once seemed impossible. One late afternoon, in one of the newly developed Ascend cities in Texas, Trump and Musk met again to discuss the next phase of the project. The city, which had once been a barren stretch of land, was now thriving. Its streets bustled with life, and its solar panels reflected the setting sun. They sat in a sleek conference room overlooking the city. The walls were lined with digital displays showing data on energy consumption, population growth, and environmental impact. The two men had worked long and hard to make the vision of sustainable cities a reality, but now that it was unfolding, it felt like something entirely new. Trump, ever the pragmatist, looked out the window and then back at Musk. "Elon, this city, it's something else. But we're not done yet, are we?" Musk shook his head. "No, we're not. We've done a lot, but the world is changing so quickly. We have to stay ahead of the curve, especially with the growing demand for sustainable energy and affordable housing. And, of course, space exploration is still on the horizon." Trump raised an eyebrow. "You really think we're ready to put people on Mars?" Musk smiled, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "We're getting closer every day. SpaceX has made incredible progress. In the next decade, we'll have the technology to send humans to Mars. It's not just about sending people there. It's about creating a self-sustaining colony that can thrive, independent of Earth." Trump nodded slowly. "I've always been skeptical about space, but I'll admit you've made believers out of a lot of people. And that's the goal," Musk replied. "We're not just changing the way people think about energy or cities, we're changing how they think about the future, about what's possible." As the conversation shifted, Musk and Trump turned to project Ascend's educational initiatives. One of the most powerful aspects of the program was its ability to empower the next generation of leaders, engineers, and visionaries. The Ascend Futures program had already helped thousands of young people gain the skills needed to succeed in fields like renewable energy, space exploration, and sustainable agriculture. Those kids we're training today, who will be the leaders of tomorrow, they're the ones who will build the next phase of the future, Trump said, his voice filled with conviction. Musk nodded. "The future depends on education. And it's not just about knowledge, it's about inspiring them to think differently. To see the world not as it is, but as it could be." While Project Ascend continued to gain momentum, there were still critics. Many in the political establishment, both in the US and abroad, were wary of the scale of the initiative. Some feared it was too ambitious, while others questioned whether it was politically feasible in an increasingly polarized world. In one of the most high-profile debates about the initiative, Trump and Musk appeared together at a global summit on climate change and innovation. The event was held in Paris, and it attracted world leaders, industry giants, and environmental advocates. The atmosphere was charged with the urgency of addressing the planet's most pressing challenges. The debate centered around the question of whether private companies like Musk's SpaceX and Tesla should be leading the charge on renewable energy and space exploration, or whether the government needed to take a more prominent role. A representative from the European Union stood up, voicing concerns about the dominance of private companies in such important sectors. "We can't let private corporations dictate the future of our planet," he said, his tone firm. "The government must play a central role in ensuring that the benefits of these technologies are shared by all." Trump, ever the provocateur, responded. "The government's role is important, yes. But the private sector is where innovation happens. SpaceX, Tesla, and Project Ascend have proven that we can make a real difference. And the public sector is going to have to learn how to work with us." Musk added, "It's not about corporations versus governments. It's about collaboration. Governments need the innovation that the private sector brings, and we need the regulatory frameworks and policy support that governments provide." The debate continued for hours, with each side presenting compelling arguments. But by the end of the day, the message was clear. If humanity was going to overcome the challenges it faced, it would require cooperation on an unprecedented scale. And that cooperation would come not just from politicians or billionaires, but from ordinary people who believed in the power of change. Back in the US, the success of Project Ascend and the Ascend Cities initiative inspired a new wave of political leaders. Many of them had grown up with the example set by Musk and Trump, and they had come to understand the importance of forward-thinking policies that prioritize sustainability, education, and technological innovation. One such leader was Maria Gomez, a young senator from California who had risen quickly through the political ranks. Maria had worked alongside Musk and Trump's teams on several of Project Ascend's initiatives, and she had become a staunch advocate for the program. She recognized that the path to real change involved not just political power, but the collaboration of innovators, scientists, and entrepreneurs. In a speech delivered at a major environmental summit, Maria stood at the podium and addressed the crowd. "What we're seeing today isn't just about technology, it's about a new way of thinking," she said. "It's about building a future where everyone has access to clean energy, affordable housing, and opportunities for education. It's about doing the hard work now so that future generations don't have to face the consequences of inaction." The audience responded with thunderous applause, and Musk, sitting in the crowd, exchanged a look with Trump. This was the future they had worked for. A future where innovation, leadership, and a sense of shared responsibility would shape the world for generations to come. As the sun set on yet another busy day, Musk and Trump found themselves sitting together once again, this time in Musk's private office at SpaceX. The conversation was quieter now, more reflective. "We've done a lot, haven't we?" Trump said, leaning back in his chair. "Changed a lot." Musk nodded. "Yes. But the work isn't over." Trump smiled, his trademark confidence returning. "You're right. And I'm ready for whatever comes next." Musk's eyes sparkled with determination. "We've only just begun." And with that, the two men turned their attention to the next challenge on the horizon, knowing that their work, the work of Project Ascend, would continue to shape the world for generations to come. As Project Ascend continued to gain momentum, the world began to shift in ways that neither Musk nor Trump could have fully predicted. The global impact of their initiatives had already transformed the landscape of energy, transportation, and housing. Yet, the biggest challenge of all remained: the challenge of maintaining and expanding that success in the face of an ever-changing world. In the years following the completion of the Ascend cities, Musk found himself increasingly focused on space. SpaceX had made incredible strides, achieving significant milestones in the effort to colonize Mars. Yet, despite the success, the road to establishing a permanent human presence on Mars remained long and fraught with obstacles. Musk knew that if humanity was to survive beyond Earth, the work had to continue, relentlessly, and without compromise. For Trump, the focus had shifted to the broader political landscape. The world had seen the success of Project Ascend, but the influence of his detractors had not waned. The years after his presidency had been full of controversy, yet the work he had done with Musk remained a central part of his legacy. He had come to realize that change wasn't about a single person, it was about a collective effort to push boundaries, to challenge the status quo, and to ensure that the future wasn't left to chance. At a high-profile space summit in London, Musk and Trump found themselves seated together once again, this time on a panel alongside global leaders and top scientists. The summit was designed to bring together the brightest minds to discuss the future of space exploration, energy, and sustainability. It was here that Musk would reveal his next big vision, the launch of the Starbase Initiative. The Starbase Initiative was Musk's ambitious plan to create a self-sustaining city on Mars. But unlike previous ventures, this initiative aimed to go further. It was not just about survival on Mars, it was about thriving. The city would be a model of sustainable living, powered by advanced renewable energy sources and managed with the most cutting-edge technology. Trump, as always, was the crowd pleaser. He delivered a speech that was part sales pitch, part visionary statement. "We're not just building a new world on Mars," he said, his voice booming. "We're paving the way for the future of humanity. We've shown what's possible right here on Earth, and now we're going to show the world that we can do it in the stars." Musk, who had become more focused and less theatrical over the years, followed with a quieter, more measured approach. "What we're doing on Mars is about more than just survival," he said, his voice calm but resolute. "It's about creating a blueprint for how humanity can live sustainably. If we can make life possible on Mars, we can make life sustainable here on Earth." The crowd erupted in applause, and for a brief moment, it felt as though everything they had worked for, the projects, the successes, and the setbacks, had led them to this moment. But the path ahead was far from certain. Musk knew that the journey to Mars would be fraught with danger, and the political and financial challenges of sustaining such a massive initiative would be enormous. Yet he was ready. He had to be. Months later, Musk and Trump found themselves meeting again, this time in the halls of the White House. The space initiative had gained traction, and Trump had returned to the public eye with a renewed sense of purpose. The press conference was to announce the official partnership between Project Ascend and the Starbase Initiative, a historic moment that would signal the next phase of their work together. As they walked into the room, the press burst into a flurry of questions. Flashbulbs popped, and the weight of the moment hit both men in different ways. Musk was focused, his eyes scanning the crowd, his mind calculating the next steps. Trump, ever the showman, basked in the attention, his signature grin spreading across his face as he took the podium. "We are standing here today at the cusp of something truly incredible," Trump said, his voice echoing through the room. "Together, we've created the infrastructure to change the way we live, to change the way we think. And now, together, we're going to make history once again by ensuring humanity's future in the stars." Musk joined him at the podium, his presence quieter but no less powerful. Space exploration is no longer a far-off dream. It is a reality. We're making this happen. But we cannot do this alone. This is about more than just the two of us. It's about building a future for everyone. The cameras clicked away, capturing the historical moment. Musk and Trump had once been an unlikely duo, their differences stark and undeniable. But now, they stood as partners in something larger than both of them, something that would shape the future for generations to come. Despite the optimism of the press conference, the challenges continued to mount. Behind the scenes, Project Ascend faced new difficulties as political forces, both in the US and abroad, began to resist the massive investments in technology and infrastructure. There were critics who argued that the focus on Mars was distracting from pressing issues on Earth, while others worried that the resources required to fund such an ambitious project could be better spent elsewhere. Trump found himself navigating political waters that had grown increasingly complex. The landscape had shifted again, with new leaders rising in the political sphere, and some questioning the long-term impact of the work they had begun. But for Trump, the challenge was clear. This was his legacy, whether the critics liked it or not. Musk, too, found himself at a crossroads. With the Mars mission now a real possibility, the technological hurdles were becoming increasingly difficult to overcome. Each new success at SpaceX was met with a new challenge. Every breakthrough seemed to create a dozen more questions. But Musk was not one to back down. He had never been deterred by the enormity of a task. He had always seen challenges as opportunities. The stakes were higher than ever, but neither Musk nor Trump was prepared to let the dream slip away. Together, they worked tirelessly, Musk on the technological side and Trump on the political front, fighting to keep Project Ascend moving forward, one step at a time. Months turned into years, and the Starbase Initiative began to take shape. The first shipments of materials arrived on Mars, and the initial infrastructure was being constructed. The idea of humans living on Mars was no longer a distant fantasy, it was becoming a reality. But as with all great endeavors, it was far from easy. Musk spent weeks in the control rooms, overseeing the launch of the first crewed mission to Mars. The stakes were higher than ever. This mission would set the stage for all that followed. It was a small crew, just 6 astronauts, whose job was to set up the first habitat on Mars and test the sustainability of the systems that had been designed. The launch was a moment of triumph, but it was also filled with tension. Musk's usual calm was replaced by a quiet anxiety as he watched the crew board the spacecraft. Trump, who had joined him for the launch, clapped him on the back. "You did it, Elon," Trump said with a smile, his tone full of pride. "This is history." Musk looked at him, his eyes focused on the spaceship as it ascended into the atmosphere. "It's just the beginning," he replied quietly. "We have a lot more to do." The spacecraft vanished into the sky, heading for Mars, and Musk's thoughts turned to the future. The mission was only the first step, but it was the most important one. And the work they had begun would continue, no matter the challenges. As the days passed, the excitement around the mission grew. News outlets across the world reported on the historic achievement, and Musk and Trump were hailed as pioneers in the next great chapter of human history. But behind the scenes, they knew that the real work was just beginning. For Musk, The mission to Mars was a symbol of everything he had worked toward. It was the culmination of his career, the proof that humanity could go beyond Earth and survive. For Trump, the mission represented the realization of his vision for the future, an achievement that would not only shape his legacy but also redefine what was possible. Together, they had built something extraordinary. And as they watched the spacecraft disappear into the stars, they knew that the journey was far from over.